Hi, welcome back to the channel. My name's Adrian, and today I'm going to start this video off with one simple question, and that is, what do you do when your players all TPK? I think there's probably three options you've got. You can end the campaign, play something new. You can create a new bunch of players that then carry on the campaign setting to go and find the existing players, maybe, and just carry on in the world. You keep it as a living world and go on. That's a really good option. Or the third option, which I've done before, is you put all the existing players into purgatory and they have to do certain things to survive to get their body back. Now, this Kickstarter project is all about that. It's specifically for Shadowdark, and it's not quite funded yet. So I'm doing this video in the hope that you, the watcher, the viewer, will jump on board and fund it. Now, I think there's a reason why it may not be funding, and me as a 51-year-old man with an opinion is going to share my opinion. So hopefully the creators of this are watching, and if they can do something about it, I'm going to sort of say why I think we are slightly underfunding. But as I'm going to do with all these videos, I'm going to start off, I'll talk about the Kickstarter page, show you the links, put it in the video description. I'm then going to kind of share my opinion why I think, and hopefully we can get that corrected to get it funded. Because then I'm going to do it's going to be a streamlined review, because I actually have the PDF of this because it's ready to ship as soon as funding is done. As soon as the funding is cleared through Kickstarter, the PDF will be in your hand. And I want more people to have this because I think it's brilliant. Before I get into that, let me just take you straight over to the Kickstarter page so you can see what I'm looking at. So here we have the Kickstarter page for the Black Ballad. And as you can see here, we are currently underfunding slightly. So it's $15,000 they're looking at. We're at $13,200. So not a huge way to go. The downside is 5 days to go at time of recording. I have come into this a little bit late, but the whole premise of this is all the players die, TPK, and as you can see here, death is only the beginning. And this is designed, and it can go from lower to higher levels of play. Great video in here. Again, I'm not going to play it purely because, I'm going to lose my funding on this video. So the Death of Oaths. So Second Chance Adventurous. It's a full adventure designed supplement for your home campaign or an official supplement. So you can either play this as your home campaign goes. I think you could quite easily just take this to a convention play, get people to play recently dead people, and then just play at that. There's two modes of play within here, but here you see, after death for any reason, your party will journey through the storms of the broken world and engage in the discourse with death itself in an attempt to earn a second chance for the land of the living. There are new spells in here. There's a couple of classes. There's some new ancestries, new creatures, beasts. The one thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to show you any of the adventure because, well, I've been sent this and I don't know how much I can show. So say when I do my sort of review-ish, time stamped at the end of the video, I'm going to be kind of careful what I show because I say this is ready to go and I don't want to kind of show too much in here. But say this is fully replayable and it's designed for every time you get a TPK in here. This should give you, as we go through, an idea of the art that's coming up because it is a thing of beauty in here. From what I'm sort of taking, this is based on a 5th edition adventure that has been changed, and the adventure went from 1st to 20th level from what I believe, and then obviously because there's a section right at the start of the book where it says that they condensed it down to the 1st to 10 levels of Shadowdark. Here you go, how to back the project, click the rewards, choose your shipping and your destination, and then you go from there. So it is going to come with a soundtrack, and it's got this parent advisory sticker. I'm still old enough to remember when that didn't actually exist. You could pick up albums with swear words and everything because I'm old. So it is for mature audiences only. The soundtrack is going to come from Diamorte. I think that's how it's pronounced. We have got a couple of tracks that you can link to, you can play to get an idea, and there's narration in here. There's a couple of coins that all come in and build into the adventure. So here we got the two new ancestries. We've got the Nixian Gargoyle, which is a divine stone skin creature with features native to the realm of the afterlife. And then we've got a Stone Stitch, which is a patchwork persona with unraveled humanoid life stitches together the souls and memories with only 1 year to live. that plays out really well, how you manage to extend the months in here. A couple of classes, we've got the Godless, which is a new cleric class in here, and then we've got the Reaper, which is a bounty hunter or a fierce killer. 20 new priest spells from tiers 1 to 5. So if you are going to play a priest, it kind of says that those spells, the existing spells go. You bring in these spells and just replace them that are sort of themed to the afterlife. However, if you want to include these in your original Shadowdark games and your settings, by all means, more can sometimes be best. I've got to be careful because, sometimes you do get that there's too much to choose from, and we are maybe in fear of becoming 5th edition. But as a games master, you should be able to pick and choose which ones you allow and stuff. But, I think if someone goes and buys a specific zine, and they want to play things in that, by all means, I'm always a fan of letting people play what they want, unless I've written a specific world. So we've got themed concepts around such as wish, regret, envy, and dream. And then we've got conversion rules, so if you want to take any 5th edition spells and convert it into Shadowdark. So we've got new loot, new treasures, and all of these, I think all of them have got curses. I'm a huge fan of magic items that can be divinely powerful, but also on the flip side if the player does something specific or they don't do something, then the curse is going to sort of reduce the ability to use the magic spell or do some sort of constriction on the player. So we've got these two modes of play in here. We've got the conviction mode where the players, every time they die, they never actually die. They're going to come back. It's a bit like playing Lego Star Wars. You're kind of going to die. You're going to sort of step out for a few seconds and a bit of you's going to disappear. You're also going to get a little bit back. That's what I've got in my head, because I think you're out. I think it's about 3 or 4 rounds. We'll go into it, a little bit more detail. And then we've got the Sovereign mode, which is it's more of a long-term play mode. You're going to level up, and as the players level up, they're also going to get new epic abilities and powers that are going to help them sort of survive in the undead realms. We're then going to get 17 new monsters and NPC redesigns for Shadowdark. From the book itself, we are going to get, there's a deluxe printing leather-bound book that you can get as well. They look at the size of them. They should come down in the Shadowdark size book. Every book is going to come with a couple of coins as well, because obviously, you do have to pay the ferryman as you go across. We then get the detail of the music and narration, which I'm assuming is pronounced Diamorti, which is a mix of operatic performance with raw energy, with orchestral and metal music. Got a couple of tracks here. It's quite good, actually. I had a listen through. But again, not going to touch them, not going to play them, because I just don't know how YouTube's going to work with this. So here we have your pledge level, and where I think the problem comes. Now, this might be a licensing issue, so I don't know. But I'd like to, from Eric's point of view, but obviously let me know. But $35 is the minimum pledge level, which is PDF, physical copy, the music, some coins. Now, for me, there is no pledge level just for the PDF, because obviously international shipping is expensive. And if you want to be able to hit most of the world, I think there should be just a PDF pledge coming in, throw it in $10, something like that for the PDF of the book. There also should be a PDF and book pledge as well, because one of the big issues that we're now suffering with worldwide shipping is you throw the coins in, books for a lot of places are 0 rated for VAT, especially coming into this country, so we don't get that extra VAT. You start throwing in things like coins and music and stuff, where then the whole of that shipment is liable for VAT because of just the way it works, because it doesn't come through at 0 rated. So this is the reason why I think it might be struggling. If you're an international person, you're going to pay, chances are you're going to pay a lot more shippings and fees. So the ways around it, PDF only, have a pledge level for that. Another pledge level for PDF and book only, but also maybe look at, if you've got time, a local print for the PDF on, so it's not going to be an offset print, but run it through something like RPG. Just do a minimum pledge. There's a lot of people that are doing this, especially for Shadowdark, because it means people here in the UK and Europe, we can just, pledge for this, get it, because you're going to want it. It's absolutely brilliant. It's such a good option. But $35 plus VAT plus shipping, I'm out. It's just too much for me. But then you go down, you can get the bundle for everything. You're then into $77. And then if you want the PDFs, then the PDF only, you have to have everything. And I think it's, when I got onto it, it's $100. So here's all the great creators and writers in here. But let me just show you this on the rewards. I'm sure, here we go. If you want PDF everything, so to miss out all the shipping and everything else, $100. And there's a lot of stuff. I don't want the ebooks. I'm not a reader. Well, I'm still not a reader. I read a lot of role-playing books. I just want this. And I've got it. But I think a lot of people should want to put this in their hands. And I think that's quite a high bar to entry. So rant, is that a rant over, or is it hopefully advice over? Let me just take you over and now show you the front cover of the book. So here we have the Black Ballad, the second chance adventure, which I love this. I love this sort of death puppet master sort of controlling, you know, the recently deceased in here. So a journey into Shadowdark comes in at 72 pages. The inside left cover, so the Death of Oaths adventure table, and we've got a random table in it. Both of these are to do with the adventure. So when your characters have died, what you do is you put a list of people in here that have, you're going to have come back to, you're going to want revenge for, because they're the people that killed you. Again, I'm not going to cover how it works mechanically, and also we've got a random table in here as well, which again, I'm not going to sort of go through, you know, people might pause it, but this is all to do with the adventure. So we've got all the licensed stuff on the left-hand side of the page here, all the rights, you know, the lead designer, Sir Eric Frankhouse, the storytellers, Forge Black Ballad team, and then the other producers and everything that's all down there. So obviously, yeah, go and have a look. They're in there. So we're going to get into the contents now. I'm just going to take you through You Died From What? Obviously, we've seen those tables. A little bit of information from the designers. Then we're going to look at mechanics and formatting notes. We then look at the 2 new ancestries, the 2 classes, a load of gear, some priest spells. I'll give you a few of the examples, and the magic. We'll talk a little bit about the modes of play, look at a couple of the monsters, and then I'm done. So I'm not going to get into the adventure. I'm not going to show any of that because I don't know if I should. I definitely don't want to spoil the adventure. Here's the backstory into You Die. And if you want to listen to the album, you've got a link in here. Little notes about from the designer on moving it from the 20th level 5th edition campaign setting down to the Shadowdark 10th level campaign setting. A little bit on formatting notes here. So going forward, the saves are going to be so SDC, DDC, CDC. So it's going to be like strength save, dex save, constitution. It's all designed to be streamlined and easier for the games master, which actually I think might, well, it's not going to become the norm, is it? But I quite like it. I quite like the way it's done. So here we got this is going to give you the example of the art throughout the book. I'm a huge fan of black and white art with a single additional colour. So I think this is absolutely stunning throughout. So here's the Gargoyle Ancestry. It's a divine stone skins creature that features such as wings, teeth, and claws. They're going to know common and primordial, and they're going to choose one. You know, once per day, they can ignore elemental damage equal to your con score. They can terror the skies, so you can fly using an actual equal to your land speed, but you must land at the end of each move. Or you can go with the explicable digestion. You can consume rocks and crystals equal to the value of your ration, providing you food for the day, which is cool. It's always good to have some options in there. I know players are going to on all 3. Can't have all 3. Make that choice. Or you can go with the soul stitched. So these are the people that have been stole together. So it's kind of like Frankenstein's monster, but with souls and memories. So they're going to know common and one other language. But once per day, when a creature within you dies, you can roll a con save 12. On a success, you increase your lifespan for a month equal to the creature's level. On a natural 20, you're going to gain a memory from that creature too. It doesn't actually have any mechanical sort of say on how long this ancestry stays alive for, but you'll see as we go on in 1 second where that's going to pair. But before that, we're going to look at this Godless class. So Godless priests are driven by determination, faith, and loss. They're going to get clubs, crossbow, dagger, mace, longsword, sickle, and warhammer. Armor point of view, leather, chainmail, and shields. D8 hit points, martial class then, if the D8 hit points. They're going to know celestial, diabolic, or primordial, but they get this wraith, divine wraith. They're going to get a wisdom check, DC 12, and it's focus as well. So you've got this table over here. They're going to roll a D10, and they're going to have a power, be it, say, lightning and a D8, they're going to poison a D6, something along those lines. And once it's cast and then they focus on it each round, they're going to get to add that wraith dice to their melee or ranged attack damage. So, for example, if they'd rolled the 4, they're going to get lightning. So every attack while they're on focus, they're going to get a D8 additional damage. They're also going to get to go first during initiative or ignore the surprise round. Really cool that there's 9 different things. If you get the 10, they're allowed to choose, so that's quite cool. Now each of the divine wraith over here on this table are going to be slightly different. So we give the lightning example, and I'll just give you a second example. So psychic, so focus, gain telepathy with a target in there. Then we get the Reaper class, which is bounty hunters, fearless killers. Now these are the ones that only live for a year, so I think that goes back to pairing up perfectly with the soul stitched. Now they're going to get all weapons, including the sickle and scythe. Don't worry, the rules are coming here. Well, you can see them on the right hand side here. D6 hit points per level, leather and chainmail, 2 additional languages, but they get unraveling. Start with 1 year to live, but for every soul you absorb, it's going to give you an extra month life. So they get the Stream Ripper once per day. When a creature within near dies on a con check of 12, on a success, you increase your lifespan by a month equal to their hit dice. On a 20 or higher, so that's not a natural 20, that's 20 with your con added to it, gain an important memory. If your ancestry is soul stitch, that becomes a 10, so it becomes a lot easier. The ties that bind, so every soul that you rip, you gain a d6 that can be added to a d20 roll. You cannot regain them. And then cross stitch once per day. Consume a soul from a recently slain creature to gain 1 d10 temporary hit points for the rest of the day. Regain this after a complete rest. Then we've got the sickle and the scythe, so the new weapons in here. Both medium, both range close. One does a d4, one does a d10. But both get this wounding new ability. So wounding on a critical hit, the target bleeds for a d4 damage, magical healing, or wisdom check 12 to stop the bleeding. Both of which sound cool. So here we've got the new priest spells. As you can see, they are tiered from 1 through to 5. A little bit less than you're going to get for the standard tiers. You know, in Shadowdark, I think it's 8, 8, 8. And then tier 5, 4 and 5 are 6 and 6. So it's going to be a little bit of a restriction if you are playing sort of, you know, a 9th level priest, so you may want to sort of just allow the players to maybe keep some of the existing spells. We've got a little bit here, you know, how to convert the spells as well. So if you're going to convert spells from 5th edition down to Shadowdark, how to convert them in here. But yeah, you know, all alphabetized. So let's just go with Heart's Desire, which is a 2nd level focus spell, double near. The heart wants what the heart wants. Choose a creature that you can see within range, captivating it with a waking dream and its greatest desire. The creature becomes stationary as it fawns over your vision. Creatures immune or resistant to charm cause disadvantage when casting this spell. Damage to the creature stops the spell. So you can just stop something in their track there, which is quite cool. And once you get to 5th level or higher, you can affect another creature in here. You can summon a nightmare once you get to level 4. It's going to last for an hour. You survive your fear, but your enemies may not. You can call forth a spirit born from your worst nightmares. It manifests as a horrid form and represents your deepest fear. The nightmare acts on your turn. After 1 day, it melts away into smoke. So that's just going to give you something extra here. So here is the nightmare stats in here. Not very bright, but pretty strong and very wise, which is always good to see. It's going to get 2 attacks around with +6 and doing a d10 damage plus its dread or disaster. So yeah, that's going to give you some nice options. And obviously, you know, you've got to get to tier 4 spells to have that in. And then we're going to get a few pages of the magical spells in here. Let's look at the demonic essence in here. So this is a potion swirls and thrashes in the chaotic array of reds and blacks and the fiendish eyes of organs. So you can take half damage from demons and devils for 1 hour. And this includes melee and spells. However, you smell of rot and brimstone to anyone who isn't a demon or devil. So they're not all like the curses are terrible, but game-changing. Loaded deck. The deck of cards is adorned with perfectly balanced scales on the back and appears ordinary. So the benefit, the cards are cunning weapons of mystic power. Each card is a martial weapon with finesse or thrown, and it's a d8 slashing damage. If 2 cards hit a target, they deal an additional 1d8 force damage. There are 52 cards in the deck, and they can be recovered after combat. That's cool. You can go full on gambit if you want to with these deck of cards. However, from the curse, if you play a game of cards with them, they deal a d4 damage, slashing damage at the end of the game to you. So not hugely bad, but again, really cool idea that, you know, this really good benefit, just a slight sort of disadvantage in here. Before we get into the creatures, let's just have a quick look at the 2 modes of play. So we've got this conviction mode, which I said, so this is the one where you don't die. So starting with the 3rd time the PC gets to 0 hit points, you roll on the unraveling effects table and the memory loss table. So you're going to go on here and you're going to get some positive effect, but you're also going to get some negative effect as your memory goes down. You can't roll higher than any of your stat bonuses, so your pluses, so it is going to have some sort of restriction in there. After that, the PCs can no longer pull themselves back together and has nothing to fight for. And it takes a d4 rounds for the characters to rise from the dead as if they've completed a long rest. So yeah, this is you know, it's Lego mode with slight issues. And then we got the sovereign mode, which say players can die, you're going to level up, but every time you level up, every 2 levels you're going to get to roll here on this sovereign ability table, which is D20 table. And I'm just going to spoil aspects of peace, so grant advantage on initiative to 5 targets near. So yeah, it's just going to give you sort of some game changing effects on there as well. So there's 20 of them, so yeah, it's going to be different for the rest of the, hopefully be different, let's say, for each member of the party. So now we're going to have a look at a few of the creatures. I'm not going to really sit on any of them, but just going to have a look at the artwork in here. So we've got like a dragon soul. These all feel like more named creatures. There's a couple of sort of lower creatures, but nearly everything's like this artwork here. But I think it's Magin the Betrayer, because he looks like a tiefling to me. So yeah, and then we got the Nixia here. Then so we've got a standard Nixia guard, but yeah, there's most things in here are pretty tough. There isn't a sort of much of a generic stuff. And then that's the adventure. So that's as much as I'm going to show you. It's like a fly through, really, of what's going on in the book. So I'm not doing a full review of it because it's not actually out. And, I haven't had a huge amount of chance to actually sit down and actually play with the adventure and run against the beast or play the new classes. So hopefully you'll agree with me. There's some good stuff in here. The spells. It's always good to have new spells. I say it's a slight restriction there of the priest, but you might want people just to have a little, give them a few additional spells in there. I think it's only really going to have an effect if you are playing sort of 7th or 8th, level and above. 2 new classes that are sort of, set to the world. So you've got that pair of the ancestry and the class that sort of works really well, that symbiotic relationship, really, if you want to sort of go down that route. Magic items are always fun, especially with those like the curses. I said the 2 that I gave you, they're not hideous curses, but they will sort of have a little bit of an effect now and again for the players. But I just love the idea of these adventures. So there's TPKs haven't happened to me often. I think 2, maybe 3 times they've ever happened. And, you do have to kind of manipulate the game sometimes, especially if you want to keep that campaign setting going. But, this just allows you to go, okay, don't worry, let's stop there. Here's an option. We can keep within Shadowdark. Do you want your characters back? Okay, this is how you're going to get your characters back. Now you can, just allow people to switch classes, switch ancestries, because it's going to give them a different sort of, different method of play, different things to do and achieve within that world, especially if everyone's got a year to live. And then they've got to go and gather souls to sort of keep going. But it just really depends on how long you're going to keep them in there. With those 2 modes of play as well, it does allow you to, I'm gonna stick with Lego mode, but if you want to do that conviction mode. But I quite like Sovereign mode too. It's a really good option, especially because it just gives you some very thematic additional powers for the players to sort of, help survive in the world, because, every time they die, they're actually going to die in this world, and that they aren't actually getting their characters back. And then you're going to have to roll new characters up for the players. But really great idea. Hopefully, from a licensing point of view, the couple of suggestions that I've made can be seen. So hopefully, we can get more people and, be able to get this as a PDF or get physical copies, in their hands without actually having to buy, starting in at $35, getting the coins and the music and stuff like that, because it's just those little bit extra things that change that VAT and change the shipping costs and stuff that can cause international backers, especially to like me, to sort of back away from it. But that's it. If you've enjoyed this, please go and back the Black Ballad. I think it's a really good book. But then, I've had it for a few days and had my opportunity to sit down and have a play with it. So I'm going to leave it there. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you for watching.